Hi, this is Derek, and I will be introducing the group presentation for Jorge and myself regarding how to present effectively as a team. So, when thinking about effective presentations, we have to keep the main goal in mind, which is to convince our audience. And we need to remind ourselves that it's not the knowledge that's being conveyed, but rather how our audience receives our knowledge. So, really effective presentations will consist of active participation from the audience, willingness to discuss our ideas presented. I think here to the right in this common meme format, we see a very enthusiastic presenter, perhaps even a domain expert in the topic of discussion, and a less receptive audience. Choosing a starting point is also key for effective presentations. We want to have relatable and intriguing openings that draw people into our story. I've included a opening for a Vox climate change presentation video, and what's very striking is that it doesn't include any facts about climate change, but it still draws us in. So, for effective team presentations, we need to choose a leader or a team captain. And they are essential for successful presentations because they are responsible for starting off and ending the presentation, managing roles, introducing team members, and transitioning from one team member to the next, or one presentation topic to the next. How to choose a leader? We might choose someone who is a domain expert on the topic, most senior within the position, if we're talking in terms of a corporate structure, or hard to say, but maybe in terms of, I guess, in the university context, maybe they're fourth year while everyone else is younger years. Of course, the most confident speaker, and the list goes on. Another important aspect is group rehearsals. Every individual member may have their speech internalized and well memorized and may work very well as a singular unit, but without a group rehearsal and a strong group presentation dynamic, it won't work. So I've included the Galacticos from David Beckham's era at Real Madrid, a soccer team in Spain. And this team at the time consisted of the best players in the whole world on one singular team. And if you've watched the Netflix documentary on David Beckham that's currently out, you will know that they did not perform very well. They each were very well rehearsed individually, but they had very little cohesiveness as a group. So when in group presentations, we want to avoid this Galacticos effect.
So there are three models for a presentation. These are either one speaker, equal distribution, or a mix of the two, which is master of ceremonies. So one speaker is good for large teams. It consists of a single speaker presenting the whole presentation. This is better for large teams because if you have a time constraint, not everybody may be able to get a word in. So one speaker helps centralize the whole presentation. This is bad for showcasing individual strengths because not everybody gets to put in their word. So this may not be ideal for everybody, especially if the requirements of the presentation don't allow it. Another model is an equal distribution model. This is better for smaller teams and it's a bit more common. This is where each person gives their own presentation. This is all decided beforehand. Each person decides what they will present on, and everybody presents their own theme and then goes on to the next, passes the presentation to the next person, and sort of do the whole presentation like that. As you can think, it may be harder to organize that because it has to be organized beforehand, and it may be harder to organize at the moment how you want to sort of change the presentation, or it may be harder to adapt in the moment. These can be solved with an equal mix of these two, which is the Master of Ceremonies model, which allows for a more centralized control because you choose a Master of Ceremonies. This is a single person in the team which directs the presentation but doesn't entirely give it. So he may direct the questions in the Q&A, they may direct the presentation, giving each section to each person as it comes up, and they in general have sort of a more centralized control of the presentation in the moment, and this allows for more organization while not sacrificing the showcasing of strengths of each person. These may tighten time constraints if it's a really short time constraint, but the benefits outweigh it in certain cases, so each of these models have their strengths and weaknesses, and they must be evaluated before doing the presentation. Now, as to what to do when not on, this is when not presenting. You need to be not in the spotlight, so with body language there's a certain spotlight the audience places on a person depending on how you place your team members. So ideally you want the team members that are not on to be sitting or standing behind the presenter so that the presenter has the actual spotlight and everyone is looking at him. Now, where to look? So if you're not on, you need to look at the presenter or the presentation, or look at the audience. This shows that either you're showing the audience where to look, or it shows the audience that you're paying attention to them. As to how to look, there must be a centralized attire. Ideally there must be a centralized attire, and everyone must have a body language that reflects openness and is pointing towards the audience. There must also be a standard design. This is enforced and implemented by the leader. This is used in the slides, where you must standardize the format, the font, the colors, and avoid any redundancy in each person's slides so that the information isn't repeated. Also, the tone must be standardized. This is how each presenter speaks. This depends on the context and the audience. So the tone in a highly professional engineer presentation may not be the same tone as someone giving a primary school class. This varies with your audience and must be decided beforehand in the rehearsals and with your team. Also the length must be standardized. You must decide if you're going to time your teammates, if you're going to go by the slides, if each person is going to present their slides they did, or if there's going to be a script and each person is going to do their part of the script and then pass it on to the next person. And their Q&A must be decided beforehand and standardized so that it can be either divided equally, directed by the Master of Ceremonies if there is one, or interwoven into the presentation where each person asks a question whenever they have one,